the numbers. They are speaking about close to 300 workers. What is preventing the stroke of a pen to say that you are no longer considered to be contract or temporary, or you are permanent? A violation of Section 29(5) of the Employment Act. That's all that is required, as the current Prime Minister said when he was then campaigning.
After only 22 months in office, the industrial climate rising high, hard, and fast. And the desk of the Labour Commissioner and the Minister of Labour, according to the labour unions and individual workers whom I had conversations with, their desks are flooded with untouched files. You heard the young lady last week. The Labour Commissioner told her in so much words that their issue is not a priority. They have other priorities that they're dealing with. And I'm paraphrasing here, of course. Just another ministry in chaos. Question: who is the corporate lawyer spoken of by the union leaders that represented the big short employers against the workers? Companies and institutions, including SGU, Spice Island Inn, Grenada Breweries, Sissons. Is it true now Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is the corporate lawyer spoken of? Let's hear him.
You can argue about contract and so on, that's fine. I'm a lawyer. We can get to court when the time comes. And who has to sue can sue.
We'll take a quick break and come right back.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Welcome back. Folks, I'm going to share with you a GBN story broadcast in the evening news on Tuesday, the 7th May 2024. The irony is, I was preparing that story for you today, to bring to you today, and was actually speaking to someone I was getting some information on. As a matter of fact, I tracked down a ex-US soldier. And while speaking to him, there was the issue, the item being brought in the news, in the GBN news. But let me first share with you the clip before we dive into the whole matter.
In a startling development, it has been revealed that a U.S. national linked to several firearms found in a container in Grenada has allegedly been freed of all charges against him. This revelation has sparked controversy and raised questions about the legal processes and transparency within the Grenadian authorities. Reports from reliable sources indicate that legal proceedings against the individual have been dropped. What's more concerning is the alleged lack of involvement or awareness of the Grenada Ports Authority in the decision-making process. The sequence of events leading to this development traces back to December 2022, when a number of guns and ammunition were uncovered during routine searches at the St. George's Port. The items were traced back to a retired U.S. soldier residing in Grenada. The retired soldier claimed innocence, asserting that some of the weapons were unknowingly shipped from his U.S. residence by a third party. Among the seized firearms were high-powered semi-automatic rifles, some of which were prohibited under local laws. When approached for comment, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, who is also the Minister for National Security, expressed his lack of awareness regarding the latest development in this case.
No, I'm not aware of that. I have not been briefed on it, but it's certainly something that I would look into, now that you've raised it. Thank you.
Efforts by the GBN News team to obtain clarity on the situation faced obstacles, as the Director of Public Prosecutions, Christopher Nelson, referred inquiries to the Prosecution Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force. When contacted, Officer Dragon from the prosecution department claimed to have no information and directed further queries to the court. Attempts to reach officials within the court were unsuccessful.
Unsuccessful. So here's where my investigation took me. I was reliably informed that indeed the charges was dropped, as you heard from the GBN news item. The information was disseminated from the magistracy office to the Port Authority. The Port Authority knew nothing of the hearing, but was given a concocted story or reason why the charges was dropped. Now, guess what? At the drop of the charges, the workers of the magistracy office were made to sign a confidentiality clause. All of a sudden, they had to sign this clause. They were not allowed. One worker asked to take it to their lawyer, as I understand it, and was denied. They had to do that here and now. It couldn't be removed. Now, this from an administration who campaigned on the Freedom of Information Act, and since in office is doing all in their power to block the flow of information. Now here's what I was further reliably informed. The gentleman in question had written to the RGPF for permission to bring in the weapons and was turned down. One of the reasons being the guns was above the standard of the local police artillery and was against the laws to be brought into Grenada. And so he was turned down. I mean, the guy had a small army. Now there's a narrative being pushed in a way to suggest that because he's an ex-soldier of the US Army, it's okay for him to have these weapons. It's almost like he was given these weapons on leaving, right? And this is what I am picking up. Nobody said so. This is what I'm feeling. So I got in touch with an ex-US soldier and questioned him on the matter. Do you guys get to leave with a small army and artillery to when you retire or resign or leave the US Army? And the answer was a big no, a big no. Whatever guns this gentleman have in his possession was accumulated by him, bought, whatever. They were his guns. His story for the guns' arrival on the port, he said, and not one container, but two separate containers, if you remember well. He said a third party shipped the guns without his knowledge. I mean, the thing was in the news, and most of you might remember it. It was since 2022. So he said that they were shipped without his knowledge. Two containers, two separate shipments, guns in both. As you heard from the GBN news item, no one knows of the drop charges. The Prime Minister, you saw him, he don't know, he'll find out, thank you, dismissed it. In the middle of a gun amnesty, the Minister of National Security have no idea of drop charges in a gun-related case. And here he is, after his press conference, when caught by one of the media workers and asked about the gun crimes, all he had to, in his answer, he said, he's asking the young men to put down their weapons. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, Director of Public Prosecution doesn't know of the drop in charges. Now, what is the job of the DPP? The DPP decides whether or not to charge people for alleged crimes, that is, to prosecute them or not. The DPP also decides what the charges should be once the prosecution begins. The DPP send the media down the road to the prosecution department, of whom he is in charge, really. The prosecution department had no information and sent her back to the court. But we already know that the workers at the court had signed a confidentiality clause. So what's that? A dead end. With this administration, nothing is above board. Nothing is above board. Question: why was the matter dismissed? And I'm asking for the people of Grenada. Why was the matter dismissed? Question: since the charges was dropped, was the items returned to the owner? Where are the guns today? Again, nothing above board with this administration. Always under the table. Always under the table. Question: is it true the gentleman in question is closely related to the Prime Minister and his administration? And not blood relations here. We're talking about party and administration relations. No blood relations. Folks, while investigating, I stumbled upon some other information. You see, when the only actor in the movie dictates to everyone that's under subjection and can override all the decision-making persons, even the ones of the security forces, then we have an uncontrolled problem. Before the 2022 general elections, a now member of cabinet, a businessman, had a licensed gun, which he claimed got misplaced. He applied for another one, but was turned down by the powers that be because they were not satisfied with the reasons given for the lost or misplaced of the gun. They didn't think it was genuine. On entering office after the 2022 elections, went back to get his gun. Of course, he was turned down. There was reasons, so you know. Not because you turn minister, it's okay. But higher office called, and he was given the gun. He was ordered, should I say, to have the gun. Another member of cabinet applied to bring in a gun, this one. Was denied because, again, that one was above standard against the laws of Grenada. He went and complained to the boss. And the boss man allegedly ordered that the member is allowed to bring in the gun. And we are asking the young men today out there to put their guns down. Folks, the Prime Minister and as Minister of National Security, in the midst of a gun crime crisis, where within a few days we had 2 fatal shootings and others wounded and hospitalized. This last one on May the 4th, 2024, reports are of a shooting in Snock Corner, Gaza, St. George, leaving 1 male person dead. Witnesses said masked men shot him multiple times. Instead, he hosted a press conference to introduce the Transportation Board of Directors and their CEO, the Trinidad gentleman who picked up the position of CEO recently. Not one word about the gun crimes mentioned at his press conference. Locals died, no empathy, no condolences. It's all locals, no foreigners there. It's all locals. No empathy, no condolences. Not one word to the young men out there who continue to defy the powers that be. He was questioned on his way out by a media worker who put the question to him about the gun violence. In his response, he asked the young men to put down their weapons. On the day before, that was Monday, the 6th May 2024, a young man in his early 20s from Apwetut St. David's, your constituency, Prime Minister, your constituency, was found hanging from a tree dead. He is said to have had mental health challenges. Nothing from the Prime Minister, nothing from the Prime Minister, nothing to your constituents, nothing to the constituents of the village of Apwetut, nothing to the family and friends of the young man, nothing to the youth of the nation. No encouragement, no reassurances. We have an issue with mental health among our youth. What's the slogan? Putting people first, hogwash. Take a break and come right back as we wrap up.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure
You know why I sing that song? While the melody nice and thing, I sing that song to show them that I ain't easy, you know. But we have to cool. And they buy him out of what? The name of the next all they may sing stupidity. Nice song, yeah? You can even dance to the song, yeah? You can fix your clothes. Come on. Ba-ba-da-ba. You can dance, you know? I hear hopes I see show you am I said, who you calling by me? I see you up in Gopal and Vasley. Ramkila one sing and Dolce. Bagwan didn't sing crying like a baby. Ram sing Thomas and Sankarali. I dreamt I met these 9 men on that road. They tell me, tell the public in case they go. They say he did pay we to kill Errol Spencer. He did pay we to talk to Escobar. All them drug money we give UNC. You know they come back and arrest the hangman on we. They did pay we more than 90,000 to get rid of Selwyn Richardson. But now he controls the law, so you ring the bell. But we're waiting for him, but be sure he coming in hell. And we go grab it, and we go stab it. We waiting patiently to get in trouble. We go choke his penis with a needle, and we go lock him. Get man go Benjamin to. All them wicked things they're planning to do, because they say they sure you did kill people too.
pleasant good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is another wonderful day in Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique. It is actually the 9th day of May.
I jump out my bed like a madman when I hear the information.
Go ahead right now.
I say, cool.
Let persons know
Have to put
that I'm on.
so, but then I start
Let persons know that the class in session is actually on.
the attorney general.
And I just gave you a little ending of Sister Jenny's program.
Cause you're simply reporting a dream. They say you dare we to shoot that
Because you do know this is not one of the days that I do my broadcasting.
king dead. He is one of the
However, Monday and yesterday, which is Wednesday,
men in that room.
I was not with you guys.
If we kill Clint Hawkins,
And so I said and I promised
we bound to get
that I would be here with you guys today.
swell for you.
And guess what?
Waiting.
I am here.
So he coming in here and we go woo him. And we go screw him. We're going to make him ball for weeks, days and nights. Then he go know the wrong things for human rights. And we go pull him. Then we go.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we are not going to stay too long in terms of the music. However, we are going to continue our conversation. As I said to you guys, I would have had you all listen into Sister Jenny's program. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that the conversation that is happening, the conversation that is going around, all right, you know that we would have started on Tuesday, and at every given program, we are trying to somehow or the other represent for one of our wonderful candidates or one of our persons on the New National Party's team. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say hats off, God's blessings to our dear brother out there in Carriacou and PT Martinique, Brother Nolan Cox. The last election, he was the candidate that ran in the South St. George area. And so we want to say a pleasant good evening, and I want you guys to hit your like buttons right now. Show some love for Brother Nolan Cox today, as we in the class in session program recognizes Brother Nolan Cox, a very humble individual. We know definitely if he just had a little more timing, I believe last election, and if he was just in the position that he would have been in late in the election, then we know definitely this is one of the seats that would have been secured by the New National Party. However, it did not go away. But however, we want to say this evening a pleasant good evening to Brother Nolan Cox. All right. As I said, we want to jump right from where Sister Jenny would have left off. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you all who, and let me say that before I go in, I want you to know that this evening is an interactive evening. We're going to use this evening as one of our interactive evenings. We are going to go a little beyond our time. It is not going to end at 7 because I want us to get interactive today, right? I want the conversation to be one where you and I can share ideas. And so the lines would be open. That is via WhatsApp, whereby you would be able to call me on WhatsApp on 536-5843. And we would be able to interact more on the conversation. But I am not the person who is very superstitious. I will say that to you openly. I am not in the superstitious belief as to what happens and when it happens and so on and so forth. But ladies and gentlemen, you cannot share the sentiment that we at this stage here in Grenada are basically being faced with social issues, social crisis, and that we have an administration that is utterly silent. And that silence even echoes further within our media and social media houses. Now, it shocks me to realize that so many things that have been happening, that are happening in Grenada. And as I said sometime earlier on in my program, I think the last program that I had, that the silence that we are getting from our people, we are wondering, where are the persons who were there being so vocal in the time of the past administration? The persons who basically voiced on every issue. the persons at the end of the day who believed to themselves that the past administration was so perfect that the slightest mistake, the slightest mishap, even incidents and accidents that would have happened and occurred by our very own civilians were being blamed on the administration at the time. Now, I don't know if you are not following the social media trend. I don't know if you're not looking on. But I believe, ladies and gentlemen, there is way too much happening in Grenada that at this stage, we are still of the belief and we are still accepting the manner in which this administration continues to blow things by. Now, there are issues of state that are important. And as you heard, Sister Jenny mentioned it earlier. Now, the Prime Minister had his most recent press conference. Most recent press conference. I don't know how many of you all were following it. Now, you can't say to me that with the most recent incidents of the state, even if your intent for your press conference was not a particular something, so you're going to address tourism, but however, there is an issue in state in which you must know to yourself that there will be persons looking on with the belief that, you know what, we believe the Prime Minister would address this. Maybe family members that are looking on, maybe friends and well-wishers. And the Prime Minister, with a most recent development in state, in a time when your cabinet passed in the House of Parliament that, hey, listen to me, May 1st is gun amnesty. And this is what we're going to be addressing. Within a very short space of time, 2 incidents, fatal incidents, 2 fatal incidents, in that which gun was related. The Prime Minister uttered nothing about it. Not being sympathetic, not being empathetic, not even asking persons to assist or say. And ladies and gentlemen, we accept this. We are going to blow this by as if we to ourselves believe that, okay, he's the Prime Minister. If he wants to talk about it, he can or he shouldn't. Somebody saying, is to hear them NDC rate up Deacon as a loving man. All of you all think evil have bonds. This guy knows nothing about empathy nor sympathy. It's more than obvious. Now, what else can you ask of a Prime Minister or a leader when wanting to address whatever issue on a general setting? So take it to mean that a worker at your workplace would have passed away, or an incident happened in one of the areas on the workplace which caused or took the life of an individual, and your boss comes in a staff meeting. I believe that it is only morally correct. I think that it's only right that the boss at the time would say, workers, an incident would have happened, such and such is the case, and so we want to extend whatever. We want to say whatever to whomever. Our Prime Minister continues to play as if he's dumb. And always he don't know. He has never heard. He was never briefed. Our Prime Minister is clueless about salient matters in the States. Isn't that not frightening? There are issues that are happening in this country. And when our Prime Minister is interviewed, he's saying to the nation, I am unaware. Or he is basically ignoring the entire situation in itself. You believe Dr. Mitchell is getting away with that? And you see, you need to understand what is happening. You need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, what is happening. Now, I don't know how many of you all on social media would have seen whatever that has been released in terms of the fact that there were some issues, or there is an issue that has been arised in the executive, or what executive meeting, and who was put over the executive meeting. Are you realizing how very quick that took the public's eye? I want you to observe. You go around on social media and you look on different platforms and you realize that you can see that there was an issue that arose with a particular member within the New National Party and the executive team. And so it has been made public. Everybody knows. You catching the trend? But however, issues that are of state, issues that are asking our people to pay particular attention to, is very silent. Very silent. The Prime Minister, with an allegation that an individual who was charged for having brought in, or allegedly brought in, a number of firearms, 2 containers of firearms confiscated at the port. 2, an individual apprehended, charged. Individual expecting to go in front of a magistrate for the artillery is found, has been dismissed anonymously. Charges have been dropped anonymously. The Grenada Broadcasting Network, one of our media houses, basically saying to our people, this is the information they have. This is the information that we do have. This is the information that we believe is concrete. These allegations was pouring. The Director of Public Prosecution, a member of Cabinet, now I believe 2 must have had that information on this allegation. Therefore, I believe if I am sitting in that position and an allegation of that importance is going around, I would make inquiries. As the DPP, I may call the magistrate's office, I may call prosecution, I may find out from whomever counsel what is going on. But you're saying to me that charges of that nature have been dismissed against an individual when in a time you are basically asking the state to hand in your firearm because we believe that, as you said, the pandemic of firearms have become a Caribbean issue. And so an important issue in that is happening within your administration. Because it is only obvious, that the Director of Public Prosecution with the artilleries found must have been given information. I believe that it must have passed within the office of the DPP to whether or not charges must be laid. Now that allegation spurs, and the Prime Minister was asked about it, and the Prime Minister says to the nation, he is one, unaware, and two, he has not been briefed. The Prime Minister is saying to his people that with that allegation that continues to spur, with the conversation that continues to go around, with the amount of firearm that was confiscated, with the information that is being disseminated, the Prime Minister turns to his nation, or his nation, and says to his nation, I am unaware and I am not briefed, or I has not been briefed. Can you imagine this? Can you, ladies and gentlemen, imagine this? And we accept that in a time when the Prime Minister's administration, along with the security services of the state, are asking persons to bring in their firearms. In a time when persons are basically saying, we are tired, we have had enough with the gun thing. But the Prime Minister is unaware that an alleged individual, an individual who basically were facing charges for the same gun-related offense, has been dropped. My mother used to always tell me, in every piece of lie, there is some form of truth. My mother usually says to me, or used to say to me, that in every piece of lie, there is a bitter truth. In any case, there is a piece of Sister Jenny's program I want you to hear right now.
Making sure that those platforms are, standardized and in line with the way the global community implements it. So what we can't do is we can't take the approach where we begin just laying down these impromptu charging stations, because when we're charging, we have to look at, is this high energy? Is this safe when it rains? When, a battery fire, New York, and I'm sure you're aware of this, New York has been, at one point was dealing with quite a lot of battery fires, right? And as you know, an electrical fire is a completely different type of fire to deal with. So we've started, what I will tell you is this. For some time now, the board and the GTC body have been engaging with the Prime Minister and other bodies. We presented a document that references charging stations and safety protocols, and that document references UL standards and other standards for connectors, wire gauges, the way you select, how you go about setting up and installing a charging station.
Should add, because, and that's very, very important, what Mr. Campbell has said, but I should add that we have already incentivized all electric and hybrid vehicles by removing all duties on them. So we appreciate that electric vehicles tend to be at least initial price point. They're still higher than conventional diesel burning or gas using vehicles, and we have therefore removed all duties on it. So it allows customers and it allows those who want to get into that space the opportunity to do so at a significant reduction in, well, not significant, complete removal of the duties associated with it. So I think that signals the government's support from a fiscal, financial perspective to electric vehicles, including e-bikes. But I think just as crucial is what Mr. Campbell said: if you don't have the infrastructure, if you don't have the regulation, if you don't have the safety, then it becomes less attractive, because if you have the e-bikes and you're at risk of being knocked over by a big truck on the road, then you're not going to get on the e-bike. And if we can't deal with electric fires, if we haven't trained our fire personnel, if we don't train the persons who are working in your business to how to deal with an electric fire, how to put it out, then all you need is one accident, one fatality, and the entire thing could come crumbling down. So I think I want to re-emphasize what Mr. Campbell has said and the importance of it.
So the fires are being ignited at home, like the bike pack up in your house, in your garage, and the fire, and catch a fire. It's not when you go to rent it or purchase it, so that you can train the staff to take care of the fire. However, I will say that it seems like my corner store mascara is working well. Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. See you next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Simon Says. Bye now.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So I allowed you to listen that piece of the clipping from Sister Jenny. Let me see why. And I didn't want to stray much from what I was speaking about. But if we look at our system, with this administration, they are off the belief. You hear how nice he sung? You hear how nice the Prime Minister make everything so? And the implementation, and we already take out that and that. Let me say this to you guys. If you realize that at this stage, if you do the same thing that you did in the past, as you did with Dr. Mitchell, that everything Dr. Mitchell said, you held him accountable for it, I wish that at this stage in Grenada, we can get to that point. That most of the things that have been said by this administration, that we can hold them accountable for it. The many promises made, that we still believe to ourselves that we should not question it. The things that they stated that they would have done within a month, 18 months, 12 months, I wish that we could reach to a stage here in Grenada where we can hold these people responsible. Because we have been accepting this behavioral pattern for far too long. We are not, as old people will say, keeping these people on the airs. Because all the things that have been said, all the things that have been promised, as we head into year 2 of this administration, as we head forward or step forward in much more promises that are being made on the backs of those that have not yet been fulfilled. They have now been raising more excuses for everything more than anything else. You say you're giving 500 houses, questions asked about the 500 houses, you come up with something else. You said that you're revamping marketing board, question asked about marketing board, you say something else. You speak about plane, they ask you about plane, you say something else about plane. You spoke about seaweed, when asked about seaweed, you say something else about seaweed. You talk about contract, when they ask about contract, you come up with something else about contract. They talk about pension reform and pension payments. When they ask about it, they come up with something else. And we continue to realize that this administration continues to roll over and treat us as if we're basically dumb. That is what is happening. And I don't know how many of you all are realizing it. That everybody is sitting back and accepting this behavioral pattern. On what basis? I don't know. On what behavior? I don't know. Go back. Go back. Look at when something happening in the state. Before, as I said in my program the other day, even if sun was hot, it was Dr. Mitchell's fault. Rainfall, it was Dr. Mitchell's fault. A bus turnover, it was Dr. Mitchell's fault. And at this stage, we are seeing much more. And that is what baffles me. We are seeing much more. And we are seeing them on a daily basis, basically. Decisions are being made with very little or no consultation. Hearing it being mentioned, I still have to do my own research as it relates to the government wanting to move the licensing procedures to us civilians. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an embryo for corruption. This is an embryo for corruption. At the end of the day, when you have an individual who is part of a disciplined body, and if infringes on anything disciplinary, meaning the police, and the police is given license, and he does anything that goes against the procedures in the process of issuing a license or having a vehicle license, he or she can be disciplined within the RGPF. Arrested and charged, if so be it. And we have seen it happening in the past. Now, when you take that same license and you give it to our civilians, you say you go train them and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, police officers who are aware as it relates to the regulations and the governance of the regulations and the Road Traffic Act and the Highway Code. Because at the end of the day, it is knowledge that is instilled in you from training school. You are saying to me now, by next year, you're driving and you're going to get your license, a civilian is bringing you. Or, not a civilian is bringing you, a civilian is the one that would be responsible for issuing it to you. Consultation. We're not saying that it cannot happen. We are saying, look at the process. What is the issue we're having at this stage with the licensings of motor vehicle? Is there an issue? Has the RGPF battered that, hey, we're having issues in giving driver's license? As the Prime Minister loosely mentions that there is too much privately owned vehicles in the state. We need to understand that this administration is loose. They are loose. There is little or no consultation being done. And absolutely no one, when they make their decisions, are putting them at pace and say, hey, come on, where are you all making decisions from? Who did you all speak to? From who the advice came? When it happens, we sit back, we laugh, we grin. Oh, that is the time. And not realizing that we continue to trigger off a society in whereby politics and politicians are going to just do what they feel like. Many persons asking, go on their pages. Go on the page, number 10. And I looked at it specifically. Go on number 10 page. For those of you all who still has access to it. Right? Go on the page. Minister of Mental Health. An individual would have passed away or basically take his life in the Appoitut area. You understand me? Go on our page. See whether or not any form of sympathy was extended towards the family. See whether or not the issue was addressed. Go ahead and look at it. And ask yourself whether or not these people are conscientious as it relates to being sympathetic and empathetic, or they're just doing it for fashion and show. Nothing to be said about what is happening. Our young men and young women are basically at a stage where I believe, and maybe I'm subjected to correction, where mental health has become a serious issue. We have now selected a minister responsible for such health issue. What are you hearing from her? And every time you see she posts something about, oh, Deacon is the best PM. And she posts something about the National Democratic Congress. That is all you're doing. These people are not working, ladies and gentlemen. And we need to hold them responsible for that. A lot of these persons within these different ministerial positions are not getting their jobs done. A video went viral, also recent, as it relates to the condition of the river area in Guave, where the minister responsible for environment leaves. The people they elected her. And a video is going viral as it relates to the condition of the river in the Guave area. As I mentioned the other day, utility companies now, I don't know what is going on. Though we could understand Nawasa as it relates to Nawasa and the conservation. So they say, what is going on with Grand Lake? Persons are basically, every time you look on Facebook, is either Nawasa take water or Grand Lake take current. This could have ever happened with Kit Mitchell sitting in the chair as Prime Minister? Or you're mad? They would have had him for breakfast, lunch and dinner. We continue to accept things in this country and roll over. Let something happen within the new National Party. Just let them say something go on within the new National Party. And every social and media is full stream with the information. Full stream down the line, every information, every I dotted out, T crossed. Punctuations in place. Just let something happen within the new National Party. But issues that are of state, but as I said to you all recently, an individual tell me, the place too quiet. He's wondering whether or not, if that's not the calm before the storm. Because there are too many things happening in and around Grenada as we see it on a daily basis. Look at our transportation system. Look at the bus terminus at the evening time. Look at the condition of the booths within the bus terminus. The time they have to close and so on. And look at our transportation system. You find our government is studying that? You seen St. David's persons line up the whole of Cheble Street onto the carronage. What are we doing? So these persons were nowhere around before? What are they going to beat on the chest and say, employment go up, so people are more work? Because that's what they're going to look at, eh? So more people, they're waiting for bus. And I can tell you, go to these persons. Do a consensus. Ask them how long they have been in the job that they're doing now. That they have to come on the bus terminus day. Or the bus stop. And wait for a bus. We need to tackle those issues. And as I said, consultation, processes, understanding. Only they're waiting for a melee to bust out within the new national party. When is convention? Only want to know when is convention. That is all. When Dr. Mitchell is going to give up the leadership. Only that kind of question you hear buzzing from some media houses. Come on. We are accepting too many stupidness. We are watching too many things happen and remain silent, ladies and gentlemen. And we're not going to get the assistance from our media houses. I can tell you that. And they're seeing every one of them happening. They would leave a press conference to question the Prime Minister and run up in Victoria if Dr. Mitchell bunks on the street. They would leave him to ask questions. But let us just say Dr. Mitchell going up there, the vehicle bunks. That may be the wrong about in Victoria, God forbid. They're leaving that press conference and they would run to see. Because they want to know everything is Kit Mitchell, Kit Mitchell. All the questions that are surrounding everything within state. Kit Mitchell, Kit Mitchell, Kit Mitchell. Never see a man live rent-free in the minds of some individuals so much. He served. He continues to serve. His legacy is there. His footprints, are in the sand. It has been laid. We can go through numerous conversations as it relates to the stalwart and dedications of this individual. What you want more? You want to see head roll? Individuals in whom he made and gave positions. I tell you, if Dr. Mitchell had the opportunity, I believe sometimes he'll just punch his face or bite his fingers. I could imagine how this man was gripe sometimes when he see individuals in whom he and his administration lifted, gave the opportunity, even if they were alleged to be on the other side. But he saw merit, he saw development. And so at every given time, he attempted to ensure that the name Grenada is what was seen. And he didn't care yellow, black, green, or white. He gave everybody an equal opportunity to grow. You go within the RGPF, you go within certain ministries, and you hear that PS, he was an NDC, you know. Kid Mitchell and bring him up there. That one was a this. And Kid Mitchell, that one was a constable. Kid Mitchell. Because at the time, the individual saw the development of state. This is what he saw. He didn't see green or yellow. So there are a lot of them who are sitting in position and sat at position, even if they switch side. He kept them there on the basis that he knew the work could have been done. And the work was being done. But you see, as some of us, we're greedy. We're very greedy. Yes, some of us, we just want more. And ask them why they left. Speak to a lot of persons who crossed flow and went to the other side or is on the other side now. Ask them why they left. They cannot give you a justifiable reason. Greed. Because they want to just be on the winning team at all times. They don't know how to lose and build back. That is all they want. They don't know how to lose. But there is a gentleman who knows how to win. He knows how to lose. But he knows when he loses, how to come back. That is a great man. So I want to extend the feelings to many of you all supporters of the National Democratic Congress. That is about, oh, all you still gripe, all you still shame, they all will stay and talk. I can tell you that this state is a two-party state. Believe it or not. And there's going to come a time that you all are going to be on the other side again of the fence. Because you know every time or any given time we take back the state, is a whole 2-3 terms we give all you to wrestle yourself again. Because whenever the opportunity is given, the same thing occurs within this administration. And I don't care who you change. So no matter say the NDC does remind me of West Indies Cricket. No matter who captain, no matter who batsman, no matter how much time you change the West Indies Cricket Board, there are times when you realize that their losses are more than their wins. Because there is something, strategy, the manner in which your development, the way you structure, the way you build, all the years. Maybe Dr. Mitchell may like me say that. All the years, West Indies on top. Not an academy, nowhere in the Caribbean, where individuals could say, let my son send me cricket son to that academy to develop him or his or herself. We had England being on top of the world, they have academy. Australia, an academy. Now we realize India foot cricket is starting to rise. Why? They have a whole international league where all kind of players around the world, and they're developing cricket within their own scope. That has been the problem with the National Democratic Congress. When they get that chance to sit in that chair, they believe they're indispensable. Never take the opportunity to do and develop. It is always Dr. Mitchell's fault. And they don't look to develop each other. They don't look at the people who caused them to be there. You had the Prime Minister leave in the country and go to St. Lucia and say the 2008 NDC is not in power, didn't remain in power because they had an infight and didn't know how to do the people's work. You could tell that if the people within the house or within the hearts could displease the people who are his successors, then you tell yourself something is wrong. That an individual could not have stood and give congratulations to a team of people who waited umpteen years. I believe Dr. Mitchell was in his 4th term when they lost in 2008. And these were men who sat back and fought from since 1995 and waited 15, 8, 7, all kind of blows they get. And instead of acknowledging that, you have a prime minister that is feeling that he's so high and mighty, that he's above everybody else. Politicians who paved the way for him. He went in St. Lucia and he run them down. Say what? 2008 NDC is no NDC. 2008 NDC was no NDC. And he run them down to the core. Will people say ungratefulness worse than what? At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand that within the state, that this is an administration who believe to themselves that they are it. Here an allegation of a particular minister of government during a particular show in the National Stadium basically was going to lock the place on persons without any consultation to the Prime Minister, and then the Prime Minister call and say, hey, boss, relax yourself. Allegations surrounding this. We may hear more in the upcoming days and weeks, maybe when the coxilay boss. But they are in fights within the National Democratic Congress. And the more they try to stifle it, you're seeing it more and more and more every day. And God forbid, that at the end of next year, when the elections are called, that you did not say that you hear in the classroom that there were problems within the NDC. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you see, when you have people that believe they know everything, they never have a problem, they cannot accept a fault, nothing. And the Prime Minister, he never know. The day you go get to know is the day you go get to find out. The day he's going to get to know, sounds funny, eh? Is the day you get to find out. As we have a friend now that's call him, they go found out. The administration is in no position to consult. They are just making decisions loosely. Things are happening, and instead of trying to curb situations, they are implementing things without consultation. Without asking whether or not, what shall you find that go work? You find, if we do that, this is going to bring a better. You're not asking nothing. As I said, I remember the past administration having regular press conferences. Every time an issue come up, I think it used to be every Tuesday, the past administration had press conferences. Because they wanted the people to know. But at this stage in Grenada, you basically have to ask about everything. And when the question is posed, the administration don't know. The Prime Minister don't know. Nobody knows at times, like, what is happening? Who is supposed to know? My question is, who is supposed to know? And as I brought the conversation up earlier on, for those of you who just get here, Prime Minister is unaware, saying to the state, he doesn't know that an individual who brought in or is alleged to be brought in 2 barrels of gun, crates of gun, that was confiscated, brought before charges being brought before him, dismissed miraculously, and the Prime Minister don't know. Interviewed and the Prime Minister don't know. You call prosecution say, call the magistrate office, and then here in Sister Jenny's program, and I always like Sister Jenny's program because she does get she sources nicely, that a confidential document was signed within members within the magistrate court. One person saying, well, let me bring it by my lawyer because I don't know what they're signing to. They say, no, sign it now. They say that has to be signed now. Don't play the fool in this place. The Prime Minister never knows. Nobody never knows. You're asking them to give you calculations and figures. When you do get the figures don't match up. As he said, the maths never matching with the National Democratic Congress. Something always flips so, that number always turns so. And as Dr. Mitchell says, he loves numbers. He does turn man. The very first Parliament sitting on budget, remember in the House of Senate, Minister at the time, Jonathan Lacrette, mentioned about an outstanding bill of $2 million that is owed to the ministry or whoever for drugs that wasn't paid for. $2 million unaccounted for, not paid for supplies by the past administration. The next budget, Dr. Mitchell made it present that $25 million is unaccounted for the budget that was given to the Ministry of Health. Not a question asked. So $2 million, the past administration did not pay. But $25 million the next budget cycle, unaccounted for within your ministry. Not a word. Not a question from no media house. Whether or not what Dr. Mitchell is saying is true or not. And Dr. Mitchell maths the maths. The maths was there for them to see it for themselves. He didn't just say it. He brought everything down to the algebraic understanding of each one of them that was sitting there today. They could go back and play it just to aid in a mathematical education. Not a question. $25 million. Dr. Mitchell made it public. $25 million. But guess what? What is the question they ask? In his convention, why is it Dr. Mitchell giving Peter David the leadership? I hear Emlyn Piego be the leader. I hear you want to give Akima Paul. But matters of state, matters that are in the importance of our state, not a word. And somebody asked a Zealand question. Where is the barrels now? So as with, I don't know if you all was listening on when I had Sister Jenny. Sister Jenny did ask that same question. And that's an important question. So charges dropped. The individual goes free. What happens to the firearm? Where is the firearm? The dismissal of the offense caused the individual to now be in possession thereof of the firearm. Well, the Prime Minister say he go find out. So let's hope when the next press briefing or press conference is held in November of this year, we find out. Because we see the span of how press conferences happen within the state. We know they happen very far apart. Because even the police at this stage, with so many shoes around the place as it relates to gun-related offenses, who chopping who, and who think. The last time we had a press briefing from the police force, what I believe was July sometime of last year. Where were they? May the 9th. Nobody gets on the back of the police and say, listen to me, we have questions to ask. We want to know what is happening. Because if they say all that is happening, where is the findings? What are we hearing from the police force? Nobody asked this question. But they want to know about Dr. Mitchell's divorce. They want to know why he don't living in Happy Hill. Why he leave him mother in the house and he day in Victoria. Those are the questions. Those are the things they want to know. But those important information that we are giving to you ever so often, they don't ask those questions. They don't ask those questions. Why cap it at 15 when we can get it for less? When they realized that the gas prices continue to shoot, they then started making inquiries in oil and gas conversation. And a board was put together, headed by Nassim Burke, to find out what is the findings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I feel they may go and get it in Kuwait. I feel the information, maybe they're in Kuwait. Or it's dug so deep underground that it cannot be found. Information that in which the minister of the past is saying is right inside it. Brother Bowen is saying to them, hey, the information they write, they call me, I could give you. They mount a board of persons to investigate. Then how much months now? How long now that board have been put together? What has been the findings? What has been the findings thus far is the question asked. Can't ask that. They don't want to know about that. They don't want to know about that. In all kind of other conversations. Peter David plan to take over the party. You have people around that want Dr. Mitchell in there. Those are the conversations you're hearing. You work with the police force, promised pay and grade. The last conversation on it, the Prime Minister said that at least March of last year, that some progress would be made on it. He went further to say he would look into it by the end of last year. May 9th. Police officers, what has been the conversation about your pay and grade? What has been the conversation about your pay and grade? As we just celebrated May Day, and all unions spoke. And the teachers union leader says that the present administration made better living for everybody. A better livelihood for everybody. But the police, with the conversation of pay and grade, has gone mute. But they want to know why somebody was put out of the executive meeting, and whether or not how much decades he has served for the new National Party. That is what a bread and butter is. That is what a bread and butter is. Not wanting to find out what is happening within the state. Pain spreading left and right. Under the scope of what you say is the Minister of what? Implementation. I await to hear the expenditures for that ministry, because I believe that is the only ministry that look like they're spending their expenditures on what? Paint, lasher paint, jab in parliament, paint and oil. What else? Where are the other ministers? Where are they? What are they doing? Because every time you look on your TV, all you see, well, I'm just realizing that the one they sent to study start to do what Brother Williams is doing in the South. They start to post picture like rain. Somebody is commenting in the comment section to say, teacher youth violence and gang violence has reached a new high, but no one is addressing it. Laco one's constituencies is still missing in action. What is going on? What you hearing? Gun violence, gang violence. And I mentioned it earlier on, Sister Glenda. What are you hearing? Implementation. What is the RGPF doing? What is the police doing to work along with the government? Somebody saying no song? All my songs are up, so you need to check your system. Somebody saying another youth just passed on a few minutes ago. Sympathies to the family. Ladies and gentlemen. And at this stage, we are in ignorance. At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, we are in ignorance. Because the police force don't give us any information. We get no information from the RGPF. None whatsoever. And it's sad. It is sad, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it or not. We can run all the way around and rings that we want to run around and play whatever political game. But at the end of the day, we need to understand. We ought to understand that there is no way that we can play political games with human lives. Persons are losing their lives. And as I said the other day, when you look on the supporters page, the justification is that crime was at X and Y in 2016. Crime was there at what point and at what point? You are going to tell a grieving parent a grieving friend, a neighbor, a loved one. But don't worry, take it easy, man. Hey, he dead, don't worry. When Kid Mitchell was in power, a lot of people he dying too. How can this be? How can we accept this? How can we go about living like this? Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the end of this evening's programming. And really and truly, it gives you the sense to understand that at the end of the day, it's not always politics. You don't need to jump up on the political bandwagon and say, where is it? And the people so they could do what they want. We need to understand among ourselves that it's important, very important, that we, at this stage, protect ourselves, our family, our friends, against all odds. And that, at the end of the day, we all remain safe. Continue to give information to the police if you do have to. There is nothing wrong in reaching out to the police and saying X, Y, or Z. But at this stage, really at this stage, we need to be conscientious as it relates to what is happening here in Grenada. Thank you again for listening on to our program, and you have yourself a wonderful evening.
It's a close. Come on. Ba-ba-da-ba. You gonna dance, you know? I hear hopes I see show here am I. I said, who you calling by me? I see you up in Gopal and Vasley. Rankila one sing and Dolce. Bagwan didn't sing crying like a baby. Ram sing Thomas and Sankarali. I dreamt I met these 9 men on that road. They tell me, tell the public in case they go. They say he did pay we to kill Errol Spencer. He did pay we to talk to Escobar. All them drug money we give UNC. You know they come back and arrest the hangman on we. They did pay we more than 90,000 to get rid of Selwyn Richardson. But now he controls the law, so you ring the bell. But we're waiting for him, but be sure he coming in hell. And we go grab it, and we go stab it. We waiting patiently to get in trouble. We go choke his penis with a needle, and we go lock him. Get man no Benjamin too. All them wicked things they're planning to do, because they say they sure you did kill people too. I jump off my bed like a madman when I hear the information. I pick up my pen and say, Coco, you have to put this in Kaiser. But then I study slander and I study libel because they mention the Attorney General. But then I tell myself, Crooks, you slate clean, cause you're simply reporting a dream. They say he did pay we to shoot and kill his head. He did pay we to make sure Orwin King dead. He is one of the most wicked men that we know, responsible for more than a half the men in death row. He did tell we if we kill Clint Hawkins someday, he assure we bound to get away. But now we get big and swell, so you ring the bell. But we waiting for him, cause we sure he coming in hell. And we go woo him, and we go screw him. We going to make him ball for weeks, days and nights. Then he go know the wrong things for human rights. And we go pull him. Then we go. All them wicked things they say they go do, because they say they sure you did kill people. They say, Crooks, we know we do plenty. But crooks tell the public for we. Tell them that we're terribly sorry for the Babulal family. But if he who encouraged me to do this, if he used to say to kill the witness, I beg in all you, be careful with the chief, cause the Abola is worse than the thief. He defend we when PNM was there, soon as they slipped through, he throw we away. Since the days of Rama and the Fruit King, all them in jacket and tie now, them was dealing. The girl they find dead in the car, trunk by God's city. Cooks tell the public, we know it was he. Morasi never quell, he cannot see well, so we waiting for him. The show he come in hell, and we go scream him. And we go rape him. All the wrong things he do, he's bound to regret. He ought to know that there is life after death, and we go vibes him, circumcise him,